Hello everybody, it's Cheryl. So this is the first session for my Mind Body Movement Somatics group on Facebook, and we're going to start with a body scan followed by arch and flatten. So go and get your mats ready, press pause. You're going to begin lying on your mat, extending your legs if possible, and just placing your arms where they're comfortable. I like to have a nice sigh when I first get on the mat. It just helps me to unwind and begin to feel my spine relaxing against the floor. So for the body scan, you're going to begin by taking your attention to your heels. Notice where the weight is. Is it centred in the heels? Is it to one side? And is it the same in both feet? Move your attention through the ankles to the calves. There'll be probably no touching at all around the ankles, unless your feet are very turned out to the sides. And then your calf will be in some sort of contact with the surface. So just notice the contact that you have and sense whether you have more on one side compared to the other side. Not judging yourself in any way if you do have more contact on one side. So continue taking your attention to the back of the knees and to the back of the thighs. Do you have contact between the back of the thighs and the surface below? And just as a little experiment, you're going to imagine you have a marble balanced around your navel, between your pubic bone and your navel, and you're going to roll the pelvis so that the marble would roll up towards your chest and then would roll away from you towards your toes, and just move like this, rolling the marble towards your chest and towards your toes. But I want you to notice whether your thighs contact the surface or move away from the surface. So when can you feel the back of your thighs coming into greater contact with the surface and then lesser contact with the surface, and then just relax. Take your awareness now to the back of your pelvis. Are you more weighted to one side compared to the other? And sense your waist. Is your waist lifted away from the surface? Place the palms of your hands on your mat and slide them underneath your waist. So you're not going to accommodate in any way with your trunk, so don't lift up your trunk. Just slide your hands in and notice how far you can get one hand through and how far you can get the other hand through. And I have a very clear difference in my body at the moment. So just notice whether one hand goes through more easily than the other. And maybe as well make a little fist, or attempt to make a fist. Notice when it gets, when your body stops you. So you might find that you can only make a smaller fist on one side compared to the other. And then remove the hands. Take your attention to your tailbone. Notice whether it's in contact with the surface or not. And then begin a journey going up your spine, through your tailbone, through the back of the pelvis, the low back. Can you discern the point at which the low back moves away from the surface? And can you discern the point at which the spine returns and touches the surface once more? And just go all the way up to your neck, noticing where you can sense your spine in contact with the surface below. And now take your attention to your shoulder blades. Take your attention left and then right. See if you can discern the shape, the contact, the weight. Are you leaning more to one side than the other around the shoulder blade area? Sense the backs of your arms. Are they in equal contact? Does one feel heavier? Can you feel more of the surface with your arm on one side? Sense the elbows, the forearms and the fingers. Take your awareness now to your neck. Does your neck feel comfortable, or does it feel slightly arched and pulled? Where is the skull bone lying? Is the contact more towards the nape or more towards the crown? And very gently, very lazily, begin to take your head, roll it slowly to the left, and then back through neutral, slowly to the right. Notice whether you go more easily to one side compared to the other. And then return to central position and relax. Okay, now in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine if you were lying in some wet sand and then you were lifted away and you could see the impression that your body had left. What would that look like? Where would the weighting be? Would your head be to one side? Now before we do the first movement, finally sense your breath. Notice where your breath goes to. Where do you feel movement in your body? Do you notice your chest, ribs? Do you notice the belly or waist? How far down and how high up? How wide? And now bend your knees, placing the soles of the feet on the surface. And take a moment, again, to let your body relax, let your pelvis soften. And just do a little experiment by bringing the heels close in to the buttocks and then beginning to slowly walk the toes and feet, toes and heels away. And notice what that does to the pelvis. Notice how it changes the position and the amount of room that the pelvis has. So I want you to just find a comfortable place to have your feet, not too near your buttocks and not too far away, but somewhere in the middle where it feels like your pelvis can be most level with the hip bones and the pubic bone level. And we're going to begin that whole spinal movement that is arch and flatten. So on your next in-breath, I want you to imagine this first. As you breathe in, you're going to lift where your navel is, so lifting up from underneath where the belt line is. And then as you breathe out, you're going to not lower, but float the spine down and then relax completely. Let's go ahead and do that movement. Take a breath in as you gently lift, as if from underneath your navel. Feel the pull all the way to the skull bone and the tailbone. And on your next out breath, slowly let go. And you might feel movement in the skull bone and the tailbone. You've just lifted up in the centre after all. And so the skull bone and the tailbone will have slightly moved inwards. So do allow them to move back outwards. Allow that movement. So I want you to imagine the rest of your body, the rest of your trunk is like a rag doll, and it's just going to respond to the movements that you're initiating in the centre of your body. So there's a ripple moving outwards from the centre of your body, and every time that you do parts of this movement, arch and flatten. Okay, let's do that again. As you breathe in, lift the centre of your body, feel the pull on the skull and the tail, and then slowly float down come to neutral, allowing the skull bone and the tailbone to move away from each other and relax completely. There's one more thing I want you to notice. I want you to notice the front of your body, so the abdominals. As you lift and arch the back, you will relax and lengthen the abdominals. So go ahead, breathe in, arch the back, and feel the belly open up and lengthen. As you breathe out, slowly just float down through neutral, almost feeling like the skull bone and the tailbone move in opposite directions, and completely relax. So that's our arch phase. Now let's do the flatten. This is motor planning. I'm just going to remind you what you're doing, just listen. You'll breathe in first, and as you breathe out, you'll sink the navel. The back of the body will lengthen and the front of the body will shorten. So go ahead and take a breath in first. As you breathe out, sink where the navel is downwards and feel the vertebra open up at the back. The front of the body shortens. Now just keep breathing as I'm talking, don't hold your breath. And when you're next ready to breathe in, you're going to float back up to neutral and completely relax. I'd like you to place your hand, so I'm putting my left hand, little finger towards the navel, thumb towards the breastbone. Right hand, my thumb is towards the navel and little finger towards my pubic bone. Now as I breathe out and sink down, what's happening is my thumb, my left hand, and the little finger of my right hand are coming closer together, so the rib cage and the pelvis are coming closer together as I sink, and then they're moving away from each other again as I float back up to neutral. So that's when I do the flatten part. When I do the arch part, the hands move away from each other. So relax in neutral first, and we're going to put the two movements together. You're going to breathe in, arch your back, feel how the rib cage and the pelvis move away from each other. And then as you breathe out, soften, float down through neutral, take as many breaths as you need. The back comes down, and feel how the rib cage and the tailbone and pelvis come closer to one another. Breathe in again and float back to neutral. Relax completely. Let's do that again with this same feedback from the hands. You're going to inhale, arch the back, opening the front. As you exhale, the back muscles relax, you sink down. The hands come together at the front of the body, the back opens. Breathe in again and return to neutral. Relax completely. Now remove your hands. So you're going to put those two movements together on a continuum like a wave through your spine. I'm going to take a breath in and arch the back. Feel the pull in the neck and the tailbone. Just keep breathing. Take as many breaths as you need to come up into your arch and then to float down through neutral and to sink. Feeling the pelvis and the ribcage at the front of the body draw closer. They draw away from each other at the back. Breathe in as you come back up into an arch. You can take as many breaths as you need to get there. So you arch the back, the front of the body opens up, and then come through neutral. Sink the back. Feel how the back of the body opens and the front shortens. Now keep going through these two different movements allowing a wave to go through your spine. And I want you to have a sense of proportion as you do this movement, so you don't feel that this is all about the low back. This is not all about the low back. This is a movement of the back of the body, the whole spine, from the skull right down to the tail, and it's a movement of the front of the body. So every time you lift and arch, there's movement throughout the whole spine. All of the muscles at the back contract. Open the front deliberately. And when you float down, and then you come into the flatten, the muscles at the front of the body get a turn to shorten, and the back of the body gets a turn to open up. How smoothly can you go? And can you do this with a sense of proportion, so that you feel that each segment of your vertebra is responding to the movement below it and above it? So there isn't a huge movement at one segment and not very much movement at the next one. So there's a nice proportionate wave of movement going through your spine. And you may have been taking several breaths to come up and several breaths to come down. So now see that if you can execute the movement on one in breath and one out breath. So the next time you come into an arch, you do that on an in breath. And you do your out breath and sink. And then as you come back into an arch, breathe in. Make this movement feel nice. So look for comfort, look for pleasure in this movement. If it's pinching, ask yourself, am I doing too much? Am I going too high? Am I moving too much in one segment and maybe not in others? Just notice for yourself where your effort is going and see if you can spread your effort so that it feels like the whole spine is participating in this movement. It feels nice to let go of contracted muscles. So if you do it with conscious effort, you can get that lovely feeling that you pay a lot of money for when you go for a massage. Arching, the back gently contracts, and then let go. Enjoy that letting go. And sinking the spine, the front contracts. As you come back up through neutral, feel the letting go and the lengthening at the front of the body. And now completely relax. Extend your legs once more. And take that quicker inventory through your body, noticing the weight at your heels, the calf, back of the thigh, the pelvis, the low back. My low back is much nearer to the surface after doing that movement. I could slip my hand right through earlier on, and now it's kind of harder to get there. It's like there's more space. Send your shoulder blades, your neck, your skull, the width of your shoulders. I can feel somehow wider, like my shoulders are lying flatter, even though I haven't been doing movement of the shoulders. There's a sense of somehow something that I was holding on to has let go. So it'd be interesting to know what your experience of doing that movement was. Do let me know, and yeah, let's have a chat about your experiences doing arch and flatten and a body scan.